Hey everybody, welcome to Cogito's channel. I obviously don't do this a lot. I don't do the whole videos with face on it. I'm not a big fan of it for me. That being said, there's some things that I think we need to discuss with the new Metazoo. And I want to start off with initial concepts where Metazoo was dead, Metazoo went bankrupt, and we are now moving forward to the new Metazoo. I'm excited that there is a Metazoo game coming out. I was when they first announced it, when Charlie bought the company and wanted to come out with this new Metazoo. I thought that was great. When the box art came out, people's reactions were interesting. A lot of people, what do I want to say? A lot of people liked the way Mothman looked because Mothman looked vintage, looked like the old Metazoo. Monkey King was a new character, so people were okay with that. People thought he looked cool. Whatever that Bigfoot thing was, people were not too happy about with Bigfoot and Piazza Bird because they were changes from what we knew. I understand where people are coming from with these. Those are big changes. I'm not sure what the Bigfoot was on the box, because if you look on the bottom section of the box where the packs were, there was a different Bigfoot, which is the one that's on the pack art now, and that one actually looks a lot better for a Bigfoot character. I'm cool with that. The other one, almost like people were saying, oh, maybe it's a guy who's in a costume or whatever, which fine, whatever, that's on, we don't know what that's going to be until we see it in the future. I could get, like, the box everyone said looked like it was kind of either A, rushed, or B, a fake box, and it was just there for, like somebody from Italy, so we weren't sure, and then we found out that was the official box art. Then we got into them showing the new cards, and I'm going to say this, I was wrong. I honestly thought that there was going to be more connection to the old Metazoo than there is in this new Metazoo card game. I thought they were going to keep things like the bookmark on the side of the card, which I think I learned from Tormentic. I think he brought that up, and I'm like, I never even knew that was a bookmark in there, where all the traits were and stuff down the side. I thought they might, I was thinking maybe they'd keep the red border, just because it's nostalgic. But the thing is, now when they showed the cards, I'm not opposed to it for a new card game, but it feels like, and we talked about this before, how it seems like maybe QB Labs, I can't remember the whole name, it's Cubator, but I don't know. Anyway, it seems like they had an idea for a card game, and when an IP came up, they picked that IP up and they threw their card game idea onto it. And I say that not as in, I think that they liked Metazoo, and I think they liked the fact they can mix what they were coming up with the known IP and something that Charlie Herlocker was a fan of. I have nothing against his changing the game per se. And what Nick Strength of Pokemon was saying was that, like, even with the back of the cards, I have no problem with the new back of the cards. They look like a card game. It's not like it's something crazy. I understand that some of the stuff they didn't want to carry over from the old Metazoo, some of the darker thematics and everything. But if you notice on the packs, it says 13 plus, which seems interesting. Another thing that, like the equipment cards, I know a lot of card games do have equips, but Metazoo did not. I don't mind the fact that they changed, like, Power Up Red and Power Up Green. Now they have Power Up Orange, and they put that as a support card or whatever it was called. Like, stuff like that, I don't mind. It looks like the gameplay was streamlined. I'm okay with that. That looks like fine thing, because I think that a lot of times, a lot of the hard stuff going into Metazoo was the gameplay. I mean, I sat there and I must have watched all of Metabros videos on gameplay just to get the basic idea on what we were looking at. Metazoo was a challenging game, especially for somebody who the most challenging game I played was the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, Like, I didn't even know how, like, the bare minimum with Yu-Gi-Oh! I knew how to do, like, a fusion summon, like synchros and tuners and all that stuff. I don't know how any of that works. I didn't even try to put the effort in. I liked Metazoo, and I loved the community that we were a part of. So I was more than happy to put in the effort to learn the game, because The people I met through the Metazoo community were fantastic, and the people, like everyone seemed so friendly. They wanted to share. They were so happy about this, and it seems like we lost a lot of that in the community, and I understand that. One, obviously, when the game goes bankrupt, nobody wants to. There's not a whole bunch of people cheering on like, "Woo, yeah, bankruptcy, woo." But I will say that when it comes to the core community that stood beside Metazoo the whole time, we had guesses, thoughts on what might be in the future for Metazoo. I think a lot of those were kind of let down, and I don't mean that in a negative way towards the new Metazoo. And I want to compare this to the original Digimon card game compared to the new one. The thing with Digimon is that Agumon looks like Agumon, Gabumon looks like Gabumon, Wargreymon looks like Wargreymon. No matter what, when they changed the game, I like the old cards because I was a kid and I was actually collecting them, and I thought Digimon was like the original Digimon was way cooler than like Pokemon and all that stuff in the animes when they were out when we were younger. But it made sense that the new card game is completely different. If you look at the cards, they look completely different than the old Digimon. But the Digimon are recognizable because they're an IP, they're a TV show, there's video games. Like it's not as much up to interpretation. But if you look at the old cards and the new cards, they are completely different. And I feel like that's where we are with Metazoo. Nowadays, someone who's playing Digimon isn't going to really care about what those cards were that didn't like. And keep in mind, Metazoo old cards still hold value. Old Digimon cards, you can pretty much buy the whole set for like under $100. Like they didn't hold any value, except for those of us that think it's nostalgic and would be willing to spend a couple bucks on a card because a Skull Greymon card from that old Digimon card game was cool. Here, you're still seeing Metazoo cards sell for a good bit of money. And yes, it's fresh, but at the same time, we're into our next iteration of Metazoo. I will say that while it looks like there's some clarity in the gameplay and there is clear and concise directions, like I noticed on the cards, there is a line that says like flying /whatever. Instead of using logos, it's telling you exactly what it is, and I think that's going to help make it easier for new people coming into the game. I had to use the Argos playmats. I have them sitting over here for another video I made a little bit ago. I used the Argos playmats, and of course, when those came out, when I got those, then they changed some of the symbols. But you can still get the general idea on what meant what. And then I'd have a little rule book there that was like this big, and you're like trying to like get your magnifying glass out and reading. Yes, a lot of us are getting older. Reading that small text is not as easy as it used to be when we were kids. But try to say, oh, what's haste? What's haste do? Blah, blah, blah. You're trying to find it in the book and everything. Yes, I know. You print up a full size handbook, just like I did with Cryptid Camp. I print up the full book because I want to be able to read the directions, learn how to play the game. I think that part of the problem Metazoo has right now, the old fan base feels like they're kind of left to the wind, and the new fan base needs to be built. And we all know that there has not been really any advertising except for a quick little video showing us how different it is from what any of us were expecting. Metazoo needed a new direction. Like I said, I'm not mad at Metazoo for evolving. It's part of the job of Gamecubator Labs. There it is. Man, I could not remember that. Gamecubator Labs needed to do something to develop their IP. Because if they didn't, and you're doing the same thing over again, what's going to cause you to not go down the same path? It was a complicated gameplay, and I think we can all agree on that. What we need to see going forward, we need to see, we need to see a new community build. And I'm there to support the community. I think a lot of us are. We're confused, like Catching Cryptid said. It's very confusing because the problem that I see is cards, not only do the cards look completely different than we knew in Metazoo, within what we just saw in that video, all the cards look different. They don't look like they're cohesive. They don't look like they're part of the same game. That was the first thing I thought of. I heard a couple people mention it in their videos too, and I have to agree. Like, what is it? The auras. I thought the auras looked great. I'm gonna stay that. The 4 auras that they showed, I think they look phenomenal. They look great for a new card game, for a new Metazoo game. I was fine with those. The Terra cards printed sideways seem odd to me, because it's like, I understand that like if you're like tapping auras, you want to have them sideways when they're tapped or whatever. I could see something like that, but the Terras from and I'm basing this off of old Metazoo gameplay. It seemed kind of interesting, but maybe it's because then if they're sideways when you have them up between the two playmats, maybe maybe up there. That way both people can read them. I was also confused about the caster cards because like in old Metazoo we were the casters, and even in the Discord and the messages coming from New Metazoo, they would say things like, "Hey casters, there's caster cards. So are we the caster, or is the character in the card the caster?" I don't know. That's something that's going to be coming out later on when it comes to Metazoo bringing out their information. But then you have like, I could even deal with like the alt arts being borderless and stuff like that. That's cool, whatever. But then you have like cards with black borders, cards with white borders, and the different logos on the cards, different symbols, and it seemed like it was a bunch of different stuff, especially to be thrown out at once. I guess I should say, because like over the years, Pokemon have come out with different things, but they built on it. You know, it's not like all this came out at once. I'm going to pause this real quick. I'm going to show an example. All right, sorry for that. So when I started, the basic, like in Pokemon, you had your regular cards, right? And then you had your full holos. That was it. Well, then they evolved and they did the reverse holos, where the whole card's pretty much holo except for the picture, whatever. Then they added other cards like this one, a reverse holo with a Pokeball on it. Okay, that's different, you know. You had your full art trainers, your full art Pokemon that still had a border and everything. And then even like your EX cards, like they're still, that's why people have videos that are backwards. Okay, I just realized that using the face cam, everything's backwards. But anyway, then you have like these cards that still have a border on them. They're cohesive. They, at least you can tell they all belong to the same card game. Trainer cards and everything like that. In Metazoo, at least right now, it looks like everything is just a hodgepodge of different things, like trying to throw everything at the board and seeing what sticks. Like the equip card, like the one they showed us, what the spiked collar for the Kentucky Hellhound, right? I'm not against the idea of equip cards. They're kind of, you know, they're, I think of Yu-Gi-Oh with their old equip cards, like Acts of Despair, you know, stuff like that. You can use them with multiple monsters or beasties, cryptids, whatever. Creatures for Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever monsters. What confuses me is if they're going to be very specific, because keep in mind, these new booster boxes, another hit that was big for us in the Metazoo community was that fact that they're looking at doing 24 packs for a booster box. And we didn't. They put pre-orders out for what, a couple days. I'm not sure if they're still out or not. They were supposed to be done on the 15th, or orders had to be in by the 15th or whatever. But they have 24 packs with 11 cards each. But if you have cards that need specific equipped cards for that cryptid, it's going to be a lot harder to pull the cards you need. And they said there's 200 some odd cards in this set. Well, you're going to need multiple commons. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to actually do a video on Cryptid Camp, because Cryptid Camp right now, the community feels a lot like the old Metazoo community used to when Metazoo was big, at least within our realm. But it seems like you're gonna have to buy a lot of booster box just to even get a playable deck, spell book, whatever they're calling it these days. They're pricey, but the cheapest I saw for a booster box of the new Metazoo was $89.99. And that's actually here in Pennsylvania at Steel City Collectibles, I think it was. And I think that was Metazoo Menace who brought that up. So if that, whoever that was, you know, good job on bringing that up, because some of the places were selling them for really like $169.99 for 24 packs of cards on a game that died once and got resuscitated by those of us in the community. And we kept it alive doing the little CPR until Game Incubator Labs purchased it. There's a lot of different views. I like some of the aspects. Like, I'm not upset that they changed the back. For us, the old Metazoo back is nostalgic, which is sad. Nostalgia over a couple of years, right? But we like what the old Metazoo was and what the old community of Metazoo was. This new game doesn't seem like it seems like it's a different game with a facelift to put Metazoo on it. Like, oh, instead of, I mean, it feels like you can put old Yu-Gi-Oh creatures, old Digimon, old Pokemon, old Lorcana, like everyone keeps saying, because they do look like Lorcana cards. Like, it seems like there's a lot of things that could be thrown on it. That's kind of the reason why I haven't been as big in Elestrals. Just the appearance of Elestrals actually sadly looks. Let me rephrase that. It's not sadly. Sadly enough, like Elestrals looks better than the new Metazoo. I think Elestrals looks great. It's another card game that at the time I didn't want to try and get into a whole bunch of different things, you know. Um, but a lot like Elestrals looks good. A-Drive did a wonderful job on developing the card, and from what I hear, the gameplay is pretty good. I have not gotten into the gameplay. I have not watched too many videos on the gameplay of Elestrals, but it seems like they were thought out more than Metazoo was. It seems like Metazoo's like it seemed like they had like an equation, a nice mathematical equation, and then on top of that, what they did was like, okay, so no matter what, this is going to be what this number is, this what this letter is, and all this, and they just, oh, okay, Bigfoot's going to be this, Mothman's going to be this, Piazza Bird this, etc. I feel like it's put a big divide in the community, and I feel like we as what have been Metazoo, what we've been enjoying as Metazoo for the last 4 or 5 years, including on the ups and the downs. I mean, we all loved when Argos was streaming, when Tormentic was the lore keeper and kept bringing up our lore videos. Metazoo Menace over the downturn, when he's been posting the videos about eBay sales of the week, which have been phenomenal. Still waiting for some more battles, Menace. So we're waiting for more battles. It's probably been slowing down a little bit, so it's probably a little harder to do the battles. We got Catching Cryptids making his music videos. I know you're stepping back for a little bit because it's a really confusing time, and I'm not going to lie, this is probably the most confusing time we've seen in Metazoo since the start. And the rebranding, the rebirth, everything, we're cool with that. In general, like, we understand it, something needed done. It's a new company. They're not going to just do the same thing over again, It just, I guess a lot of us wish it was a little more true to source, true to the original, true to the community. But it is what it is. We've already seen what's coming out. So I guess the best we can hope for is watching how gameplay goes, and seeing how the new community works into it. It is interesting. It's going to be strange. I know a lot of us feel kind of left out of what Metazoo is becoming, which, again, companies that make money, they're not here to please me and you. They got to try and get the biggest audience possible, and by making a new game, it's going to be completely different, and hopefully it accepts more people into the community. So I'm just going to leave this go with that. Remember, Metazoo is still Metazoo. We can be here, we can not be here. It's not really a big deal. Big picture, and this isn't meant to sound rude or anything, but big picture, the company's got to make money. They got to try and figure out what's best for them. Maybe their base set, I feel like, and a lot of people have said this, that they should have done more like testing, more bring it up to the people that have been here, just to see, try and gauge where interest is, maybe gauge some gameplay. But it's not their prerogative. Now I'm thinking pierogies. It's not necessarily their job to make sure that people that like the old company like the new one, or find it as desirable. That's like the people that were mad because the old company made promises and expecting the new company to follow through. You can't expect that. They paid everything off. They bought it. Anything that was tied up in the old Metazoo is tied up in the core system and everything. People that were upset about skateboards and stuff like that. Like, that stuff's all in the past. This is the new chapter of Metazoo. And whether we like it or not, we got to see where this one goes. I'm not going to necessarily jump on the bandwagon, but I'm also not jumping out completely. I guess I kind of just want to see how it plays out. You know, I didn't jump in Metazoo's Kickstarter because I was younger then, and I wouldn't. You know, I wasn't where I am now. I'm a decade into a career, doing well. Me and the family are doing good, but I'm in a better place now. And I was like, I've jumped into a couple of Kickstarters. I jumped into a little bit with, I believe with Alestrals, I jumped in a little bit, kept some steel, little, I think I got one, I think I got one deck and I got that sealed. You know, I just kept that to the side because I wanted to support A Drive because I thought he did really good, content and everything. When it comes to a game called Bug Out from Praxis Prepper, I did a little bit there on Kickstarter, and then I supported Cryptid Camp. And I actually, it's funny because I went to Cryptid Camp because of Metazoo artists going over there. Then a lot of the Metazoo artists went back. And that's one last thing I do want to mention. I know I was going to cut this off, but I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence with the new art style and stuff. I don't mind that art changes, just like in the Pokemon TCG. I don't like all the art. Like, I personally don't like the claymation cards. There's different cards I don't like, but it's a variety of, you know, everyone doesn't like the same exact thing. Not every person loves the Mona Lisa or Starry Night. You know, not everybody loves Komiya arts. Not everybody loves claymation. It is what it is. By having more variety, it fits more people. At least they get more attached to certain types than other types. And I support the artists and their changes. And there's some really cool videos out there, like comparing some of the old cryptids, like was it Nuclear Hornets? I don't remember what they're called. This really bothers me because it was one of the cards you used all the time on the Metazoo game on the computer. You know what I'm talking about, though. The Hornets that were at the nuclear power plant or whatever, and the new art actually looks cool. The art does look like it tells a story. It looks like you can derive more information about the beastie from the art than you could before necessarily. And I'm going to say this as the Fresno Nightcrawler guy. The cards just sat there. You know, like there wasn't a story there. So I would like to see more of a story on a Fresno Nightcrawler's card, you know. But I think that's one of the things that, art-wise, I think that Metazoo is developing in a positive manner. But like I said, I got to see how it plays, how people, we like it, how we like how the community is interacting with each other, and we just need to watch how things develop. The change is going to be a change. It's going to be positive and negative. There's going to be people that like it. There are going to be people that don't like it. At the end of the day, we have to remember that the company is there to make money. They're not there to please me and you. So at the end, they have to try and get the biggest fan base. And I hope that everybody remembers that as community members, we need to be positive. We need to support each other. We need to support, if we're staying in the card space, in the Metazoo space. I mean, a lot of us are in the Metazoo space well known. And I think that even smaller creators like myself, we need to remember that we can bring up the positives and the negatives, but we cannot, you can't just like go bashing the company like some of that. And all those of us that are still here have been very positive, but there have been in the past big negative voices just bashing for no reason, because at the end of the day, Game Incubator Labs, Charlie Hurtlocker, they're doing what they think is best for the company that they bought. You know, do you want somebody telling you how you should raise your kids or how you should do this or that? And at the end of the day, man, we gotta see how it progresses forward. We all have our personal opinions, but I think at the end of the day, long term, it's probably going to be like kind of like how Digimon was. How there wasn't a real big Digimon presence back in the day, and now it's one of the bigger card games out there. So I think that we need to see how this develops, and we need to just trust in the system. And some people are going to fade in, some people are going to fade out. At the end of the day, you know, it's up to everyone. You know, you got to make your own choice, but just remember that the community is here. We can discuss things and try and figure things out as we move forward. Listen, it might not be for everybody. It might change. But I think at the end of the day, we just, you know, pay attention, see how things go. So anyway, with that, I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and let us know your opinion on the new Metazoo.